the greatest rejections in automotive history, how pride created empires. Picture this. You're walking down a street lined with Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and Paganis. These million-dollar supercars represent the pinnacle of automotive engineering and design. But what if I told you that none of these legendary brands would exist today if it weren't for rejection, wounded pride, and a few very expensive mistakes? This is a story of how three of the world's most prestigious automotive empires were built not on acceptance, but on the ashes of rejection. It's a masterclass in turning setbacks into comebacks, and it proves that sometimes the best response to no is building something so extraordinary that the world can't ignore it. The Ferrari story. When dreams meet reality. Let's start with Enzo Ferrari, a name that today commands respect in every corner of the automotive world. But back in the early 1910s, he was just another young Italian with big dreams and little money. Fresh out of his father's workshop and desperate for work, Ferrari walked into Alfa Romeo's offices in Milan, with hope in his heart and determination in his step. The rejection was swift and brutal. Alfa Romeo didn't just say no, they essentially told him he wasn't good enough to work for them. Period. No explanation. No, maybe next time. Just a cold dismissal that would have crushed most people's spirits permanently. But here's where the story gets interesting. Instead of giving up, Ferrari took a different path. He eventually did work for Alfa Romeo, but as a driver and later as a team manager. Yet that initial rejection never left him. In 1939, Ferrari left Alfa Romeo to pursue his vision, founding Auto Avio, which would later become the Ferrari brand. When Ferrari finally beat Alfa Romeo in a race, it was with an understandable mix of regret and nostalgia. That he said of that win, I feel like I've killed my own mother. That's the complexity of success built on rejection. You win, but part of you remembers what it felt like to be turned away. Today, Ferrari isn't just a car company. It's a symbol of excellence. With a market value that would make those early Alfa Romeo executives roll in their graves, the company that once rejected Enzo Ferrari now exists in the shadow of the empire he built. The Lamborghini saga. When customers become competitors. Now, let's talk about Ferruccio Lamborghini, a man who understood engines better than most people understand their morning coffee. By the 1960s, Lamborghini was already wealthy from his tractor business. He wasn't some starry-eyed dreamer. He was a successful businessman who happened to love fast cars. The year is 1963. Ferruccio Lamborghini, a successful tractor manufacturer, is unhappy with his Ferrari. He thinks the car's clutch brakes too easily. He drives to the neighboring village of Maranello and knocks on the door of none other than Enzo Ferrari. Here's where it gets spicy. Lamborghini wasn't asking for a job or a favor. He was a paying customer with a legitimate complaint about a product he purchased. After repeated trips to Maranello to have them replaced, he demanded to see Enzo Ferrari. Some say Ferrari refused him, but Lamborghini claimed he delivered his message in person. Ferrari, your cars are rubbish. Ferrari's response, legend has it, Ferrari said, let me make cars. You stick to making tractors. It was dismissive, arrogant, and probably the most expensive sentence ever spoken in automotive history. Think about the psychology here. Lamborghini wasn't some random guy off the street. He was a successful engineer and businessman who understood mechanical systems better than most people. But Ferrari's ego couldn't handle criticism, even constructive criticism from someone who actually knew what they were talking about. That dismissal lit a fire under Lamborghini that would burn for decades. Within months, he was hiring top engineers, many of them from Ferrari itself. The result? Lamborghini didn't just create a car company. He created Ferrari's most beautiful and persistent nightmare, the Pagani chapter, when innovation meets arrogance. And then there's Horacio Pagani, an Argentine engineer who would complete this trilogy of rejection. Working at Lamborghini in the 1980s, Pagani was obsessed with carbon fiber technology. He saw the future of automotive construction and wanted to push Lamborghini into that future. But here's the twist: Lamborghini, the company born from being rejected by Ferrari, rejected Pagani's carbon fiber innovations. The irony is almost poetic. The student had become the master, and the master had become complacent. Pagani's vision was revolutionary. He understood that carbon fiber wasn't just a material, it was a philosophy. It represented the marriage of art and science, of beauty and performance. But Lamborghini's executives couldn't see beyond their current success. So Pagani did what Ferrari and Lamborghini had done before him. He said goodbye to his employer and hello to his destiny. The Pagani Zonda and later the Huayra didn't just compete with existing supercars. They redefined what a supercar could be: the business lessons, pride, innovation, and market creation. What makes this story fascinating from a business perspective isn't just the rejections themselves, but what they reveal about innovation, market dynamics, and human psychology. First, let's talk about the innovation paradox. Each of these rejections happened when established companies became comfortable with their success. Alfa Romeo was comfortable being Alfa Romeo. Ferrari was comfortable being the king of sports cars. Lamborghini was comfortable with their established methods. Comfort is the enemy of innovation. Second, these rejections created entirely new market segments. Ferrari didn't just compete with Alfa Romeo, they elevated what a racing car could be. Lamborghini didn't just compete with Ferrari, they created the concept of the luxury supercar as art object. Pagani didn't just compete with Lamborghini, they made carbon fiber synonymous with automotive excellence. Third, the psychology of rejection can be incredibly powerful fuel for success. There's something about being told no that can either crush you or crystallize your determination. For these three men, rejection became rocket fuel. But here's the deeper business insight. Each of these companies succeeded not by trying to be better versions of their original, but by creating entirely new categories. Ferrari didn't try to be a better Alfa Romeo. Lamborghini didn't try to be a better Ferrari. Pagani didn't try to be a better Lamborghini. They each created something the market didn't know it wanted until it existed. The modern implications, lessons for today's entrepreneurs. This story isn't just historical trivia. It's a blueprint for how disruption actually works in the real world. In today's business environment, we see the same patterns playing out across every industry. Think about how many of today's biggest companies started because someone was rejected by the establishment. The founders of WhatsApp were rejected by Facebook and Twitter before creating a company that Facebook eventually bought for $19 billion. The story of Airbnb began with rejection. After rejection from investors who couldn't see the vision, the pattern is always the same. Establishment company gets comfortable. Innovator gets rejected. Innovator creates new category. Establishment company either adapts or becomes irrelevant. But here's what's really interesting about the Ferrari Lamborghini Pagani story. It shows us that this cycle can repeat indefinitely. Ferrari rejected Lamborghini. Lamborghini rejected Pagani. And now Pagani is probably rejecting the next generation of innovators, who will create something we can't even imagine yet. The question isn't whether you'll face rejection if you're innovating. The question is whether you'll use that rejection as fuel for something extraordinary, or let it stop you from pursuing your vision. The final acceleration, what this means for you, as I walk these streets, passing these incredible machines, I'm reminded that every empire starts with a single person who refused to accept no as a final answer. Ferrari, Lamborghini, and Pagani didn't just create car companies, they created legends that will outlive all of us. But the real lesson isn't about cars or engines or carbon fiber. It's about human potential and the incredible things that can happen when someone decides that rejection isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning of a better one. The next time someone tells you your idea isn't good enough, your vision isn't practical, or your dreams aren't realistic, remember these three men who turned the automotive world upside down because they refused to accept other people's limitations as their own, in business as in life. Sometimes the most expensive mistake you can make is saying no to the right person at the wrong time, and sometimes the most valuable thing you can do is prove that the person who rejected you made the biggest mistake of their career. The supercars on these streets aren't just machines. They're monuments to the power of turning rejection into rocket fuel, and that's a lesson worth remembering. Whether you're building cars, companies, or just trying to build a better version of yourself. If you made it this far, I genuinely appreciate you sticking around for the entire journey. Stories like these remind us that some of the world's greatest successes started with someone hearing no and deciding to prove them wrong. I'll be back next week with another story that'll make you think differently about business, entrepreneurship, and what's possible when you refuse to accept limitations. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. If this story got you thinking or if you enjoyed the walk, hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you're ready for more content like this, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss when we dive into the next incredible story. Thanks for walking with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.